So hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here to our presentation about the value of volunteering with Ginger Elliott of the Pioneer Valley RSVP program. We are recording this program today. For those of you who are not familiar with 50 plus job seekers, we support and assist people in the 50 plus demographic with finding employment, and you might be underemployed, unemployed, or looking to shift careers. We provide workshops to network and improve your job search activities, and we also offer sessions on available resources, current workforce topics, and employer spotlights. Our website, it's 50 plus job seekers for upcoming events, resources, age-friendly employers, and job opportunities. We do work with a number of partners, the Worcester Senior Center, the Bellingham Senior Center, the Pleasant View Senior Center in East Longmeadow, along with mass hire locations throughout the state. For real employment help that can really help you, you can go to mass.gov/career centers in order to be able to find a mass hire center that is near you. So here's some of the events that we are going to be doing over the next couple of weeks here at 50 Plus Job Seekers. On Thursday, it'll be Well-Being and Resilience During Your Job Hunt. That'll be conducted online. On the 17th, we have 17th and 18th, we have practice interviewing and resume essentials coming up. Those will be online. On Wednesday, the 19th, Melody Beach, one of our experienced career counselors, will be at the Worcester Council on Aging talking about cover letters. And George Armstrong, another one of our career counselors, will be at the Bellingham Council on Aging about resume essentials on the 24th. On the 25th, we will have Dr. Miriam Diamond here to talk about creative ways to navigate work and life transitions. And on the 26th, we'll be doing a LinkedIn workshop at Mass Hire Springfield. And finally, on March 27th, I think that's a Thursday, leveraging transferable skills to make most of a major career change with Myra Quick of the Mass Hire Career Center. To see all of our events that we have coming up, go to 50plusjobseekers.org/events/list. We're going to get going with Ginger Elliott of the RSVP program. So can I start off by just asking you the big question that was always in my mind, Ginger? What does RSVP stand for?
So it stands for a lot of things, but in our case, it stands for Retired Senior Volunteer Program. And we are part of, many people have not heard of RSVP. There are RSVP programs all over Massachusetts and all over the United States, actually. It's a federally funded program. And we are part of AmeriCorps, which some of you may have heard of.
Yeah. Okay. So Ginger, can you just talk a little bit about, our theme here today is to talk about the value of volunteering. And I'm wondering if you can just talk about that a little bit for us.
Sure. So, I've been volunteering my whole life, so I can see many positives. Obviously, I have found many benefits from volunteering during my lifetime. And I think what I want to talk about today is how volunteering is a particularly good fit for older adults. And there are many reasons for that. RSVP works with adults who are 55 years old and older. And the reason that we are funded by the federal government and have been, for more than 50 years now, very steadily funded and supported by the federal government is in recognition of all the ways that older adults benefit. Of course, when we volunteer, our community benefits, but the reason that we get funding is because we as older adults also benefit. So, we're at a stage in our life as retired people or close to retirement. We are at a stage of our life that um, we are maybe have more freedom than we've had before. Our families are raised. We may not need to work for money anymore. So we can think about what we don't have to work at all. So what are the satisfactions that we would get out of volunteering our time? Um, in terms of developmental stages of life, older adulthood is a time when people traditionally really think about issues like, to use a cliche, what does it all mean? People are looking for meaning in their life and a way to contribute and leave a legacy um, in a meaningful way. So volunteering is an excellent way to sort of harness those impulses and benefit, as I said, ourselves as well as our community. Um, we can let go of some old roles in our life, find some new ones, find renewed purpose. We can gain a new support system. Many of our volunteers tell us that their number one reason for volunteering is socialization. They like to get out and meet people. Uh, and that's is certainly very important to stay connected, to make new friends, learn new skills. As I said, I think I said, volunteering gives us a chance to try out things that we haven't had the opportunity to do before. So when we were younger, thinking about a career, many of us were thinking about practical issues. Maybe you were interested in the arts, but felt that, it would be hard to make a living doing that, so you went into something else. Maybe there was a family business that you were expected to step up into. There are all kinds of different factors that influence the career that a person has chosen. But as I said, after 50, after 55, things open up a little more, and we're not bound by those um, limitations. Um, so, given that, when you decide to volunteer, the possibilities are endless. There are certain things that people think of right away, maybe a food pantry, maybe, helping out in a nursing home. Like I said, there are certain things, just like little kids when they're deciding what they want to do for a career, they'll say, oh, a firefighter, a police officer or a nurse, there's certain things that come to mind. But really, the possibilities are so much wider and deeper than that. And that is what RSVP really specializes in. We have um, we partner with more than 50 different um, nonprofit agencies all over Hampshire, Hampton, and Franklin counties. We are in the western part of Massachusetts, um, and we have more than 400 volunteers. Our my job as volunteer coordinator for RSVP is I'm kind of a matchmaker. So I get to know our site partners, what kinds of volunteers they're looking for, what are the jobs that need to be filled. And I have the luxury of getting to know my volunteers also, and I'm kind of a matchmaker. We really specialize in getting to know our volunteers and our partners and um, making those kinds of matches. And actually, we have an excellent record with that. So the last statistics that I have, 84% of RSVP volunteers had been serving 1 year or more.
Mm.
31 volunteers have been with the program for more than 15 years. And actually, my favorite statistic 25% of our volunteers have been serving 10 years or more. So, which I think really speaks to the fact of how rewarding volunteering can be for many reasons. When you decide to volunteer, well, you know what, Eric, I think I'm going to stop there. Uh, so
Okay. Yeah, well,
that's
I have a few questions for you.
sure.
So, what are the most popular or in-demand volunteer opportunities that RSVP helps to fill?
Well, food insecurity is a very popular one, and I
Mhm.
think because everybody can identify with it, and it's a need that is always there, and it's something that you can see the benefit of, in a very immediate way. So all kinds of food insecurity programs like volunteering at a food pantry, delivering Meals on Wheels to older adults, um, that kind of thing. Very, very popular. We have a number of site partners who have a job called Money Manager, which is quite popular. And this is where a volunteer would be paired with an older adult that needs help managing their finances. So, they're otherwise independent, but they need help, going through bills, balancing their checkbook, paying their monthly expenses. And that's something that our volunteers find very rewarding, and that's a popular program. A lot of our volunteers, a lot of older adults don't have many opportunities to interact with children uh, anymore, and some people miss that. We do have several programs where volunteers help with after-school tutoring, or one of my favorite programs is uh, interacting, volunteering, I don't know, an hour or two a week to play with children in homeless shelters. So that kind of thing is also very in demand. And finally, a program that we have, most of our volunteer opportunities are not really RSVP. As I said, we're kind of a, matchmaker between a nonprofit and a volunteer. But we do have one program that is specifically our own that is called Healthy Bones and Balance. And that is an exercise program for older adults that is our own program. We train people in that method and then place them at different sites in our district, many nursing homes, some churches, some town halls. And that also is a very popular program. People, like to stay active, and it's also an evidence-based program, so that um, with lots of data to show that people who participate in it are stronger, have fewer falls, fewer broken bones, better balance, and so that's just a kind of a little synopsis of our
Okay.
most.
Yeah. A little bit of an offshoot there with the Healthy Bones program. Yeah, yeah, but
Mhm.
so important. I mean, especially in the safety
Absolutely.
of older adults. Falling is I mean, it's a great fear amongst the people that are in the mature demographic there. So that kind of
We,
brings up
we
to
have
me.
a couple of instructors who are in their 80s and 90s
Wow.
for Healthy Bones and Balance. Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yes, it works. It works.
yeah, yeah. That's great. So So speaking about, challenges that older adults, what kind of challenges do older adults face when they're looking for volunteer opportunities? And is RSVP able to help or guide those people in some way?
Well, you know what? I thought a lot about this question, Eric. And I have to say, there are not many there are not many barriers or challenges to older adults volunteering. I think that older adults have a lot of strengths. You know, they have experience, they have maturity. When they make a commitment, they tend to keep it. You know, so it's something that you know, it's not hard to place an older adult in a volunteer situation. Interestingly, the origin of RSVP as a federal program, um, you know, they recognized the benefits to volunteering for older adults, and they identified some challenges, which were transportation was one barrier that they thought. And in response to that, the program was designed to offer travel reimbursement to and from a person's volunteer um, experience, and that's continued to this day.
Mhm.
Insurance was seen as a barrier, and RSVP does offer free liability insurance. We can't offer medical insurance, but we do offer free liability insurance for our volunteers. Also, nutrition was identified as a barrier, and for that reason, um, volunteer opportunity, many volunteer placements include you know, a food program, a nutrition program, and which our volunteers have access to when it's available. So those are some of the things. But as I said, in the present day, I don't feel, you know, older adults, they have a more flexible schedule. They know what they want. You know, they have certain experiences, and with the variety of choices that we are able to offer, it's not really that much of a challenge to place people.
Yeah, yeah, right, yeah. So how how do you how do you evaluate about whether a volunteer placement
Hmm.
um, for both the volunteer and the organization, how does that work? I mean, I would imagine in the case of a volunteer that they may much say they might very well say, "Gee, this is working out great. I don't want to change anything," or
Yep.
it might be the other side, kind of
Yes.
flip the record over there, and it was like, "Wow, this is not what I expected.
Yep.
Um, this isn't working out for me." But so, does the program keep track of those types of situations? And
Absolutely. And, you know, I would say, you know, because we encourage our volunteers to be adventurous, you know, and to try things that they may not have tried before, but might always have wondered about or always had a curiosity about. So yes, it is very important to offer that volunteer support moving forward. And you know, because it doesn't always work out. You know, that is a reality from the point of view of the volunteer or the placement, the nonprofit placement. So yes, we do. We track our volunteers very carefully. We stay in touch with them. We are available to them. We are available to our site partners also. Sometimes if there's a conflict or an issue, we can help to mediate that. And, you know, which does not happen very often. I'll just say that. But it is a fairly common occurrence for a volunteer to call us back and say, you know what, it's not what I thought it was going to be, you
Mhm.
know, or it's too much for me. I thought I wanted it, but now I realize, you know, I it's not right. So we are definitely with that person, and will you know, keep working with them to find a long-term placement. And so one of the systems that we have in place for new volunteers, we have some categories of volunteers. Active, of course, that's what most of our volunteers are. On leave, and something called in process. So when we sign up a volunteer and place them in a volunteer position, we will keep them in the in-process status for at least 3 months. And we will speak with them at least monthly during that time.
Hmm.
Have a phone conversation or an in-person conversation. How's it going? What do you think? What do you like about it? What are you not so sure about? And we will stay with them until they are, um, 100% settled into their new volunteer position, and everything's working out. The site is happy, the volunteer is happy. And then, we'll take it from there. A lot of our volunteers will place them um, in one position, and then as they grow into that and get used to it, they find they have some more time and they want to try something else. So we could add a position or tweak it a little bit. Um, and another way that we have of staying in touch with our volunteers, which our volunteers really like, we have a monthly newsletter that goes out, that has, and you've probably seen that, Eric. I think you're on our list.
I am.
Has just a listing of new volunteer opportunities, special events. A lot of our volunteers love to do special events. You might go, volunteer at a music festival for 3 hours. And then in return for that, you could get a pass for a whole weekend of music, things like that. People love that kind of thing. And as I said, a large motivator for people to volunteer is meeting new people, having new experiences. So does
Yeah.
that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it definitely was for me as a volunteer. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. With the program. So, one, what now, what about the organizations that you partner with? Um, is there a process for, I mean, can anyone be a partner, or
Well,
what if perhaps a person ends up being a bad partner? I mean, a person, no, well, no, but an organization who they make the commitment in the beginning, but then maybe after a while, their commitment might drop off. How does
well,
that work with RSVP?
you're right, and that does happen sometimes. So I guess the process of becoming a site partner, as a general rule, a site partner needs to be nonprofit. Although we do partner with some medical organizations that are not exactly nonprofit, but do have a status that we can work with.
Hmm.
So that's the number one thing, and that organization needs to use volunteers. So the general way that works is somebody would reach out to one of us and say, hey, we're interested in being a partner. And so what we would do is um, say, let's try something informally for a little while.
Hmm.
And we would do recruiting to see if that would be one of the criteria for us to see if that agency's volunteer opportunities are attractive to our volunteer base. So we would put that out there, add it to the mix. And if we have people who are interested, that's a good sign for us. And then, another thing would be once we refer a volunteer to an organization, does the organization follow up? So, it's a sadly a not uncommon experience that a potential volunteer will make a phone call and nobody will ever get back to them. And it's just a lot of organizations can't really, they can use volunteers, but they can't really handle volunteers. They don't have a person who is
Right.
dedicated to supporting volunteers. So I guess those are the two things. So if we get interest from our volunteers in those types of positions and that agency, and if the agency follows through, and onboards the volunteer, and the experience is a good one on both sides, then we would talk about a more formal agreement. We have a memorandum of agreement that we ask our site partners to um, sign, um, and which is, it's not very complicated or serious. And I guess that's, we're always looking for the same thing. We're looking for a place that people want to volunteer at, and we're looking for a place that will support and be responsive to volunteer needs. So,
Yeah.
and sometimes, as you said, I think you said, Eric, sometimes situations change and an organization will, sign on with us, and then maybe they have a change of staffing or their volunteer needs change. And, there's just not a good connection there anymore. And so, it's an evolving thing.
Yeah, I'm sure that it comes and goes,
Yes. Yep.
with some organizations. Okay. Have you noticed any changes in the demographics that you serve? I mean, like for example, does it seem that there are more younger people, 55 plus, that are volunteering, or are there maybe more older people? Like I'm thinking about the 75 plus demographic, which is
Yep.
a very fast growing demographic for people going back to work who are over
Yep.
75
Yes.
years old. So
Yes.
could you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So, you know, so one of the things that I've noticed, I've been doing this job for 8 years now, and one of the things that I've noticed is that our demographic is getting younger. Um, and I mean, we've always had the upper end of the demographic, but I'm finding that people 55 are looking for volunteer opportunities. Sometimes they're still working, even, but I think that came about because of the COVID-19 pandemic, that people maybe started looking for more meaningful ways to engage with the world. I think maybe that's one part of it. And also, people have more flexible work routines now. Um, a flexible schedule, a hybrid schedule, a work from home, so that younger people have a little more time than maybe they did before. So I guess that is the greatest change that I've seen in our demographic. Interestingly, speaking of the pandemic, a lot of our regular volunteers, people who had been volunteering before everything got shut down, were calling us saying, "Oh, please, I can't keep cleaning the house. Like I can't find enough jobs to do around the house. Please, call me as soon as I can. As soon as my site opens up again, I want to come back." Our
Yeah.
volunteers were really anxious to get back to work, and of course, we were the first ones to get the vaccine. And so it did not take too long for our existing volunteers to get back to work.
So has technology changed your approach to matching up volunteers as you've seen it here over the last 8 years?
So honestly, not as much as I would have expected.
Hmm.
Um, obviously there's Zoom has been a huge change for everybody, not just volunteers, but with our demographic, I mean, we even have some of our Healthy Bones and Balance classes that uh, met via Zoom during the pandemic and are still meeting via Zoom, so because it has, worked out to be a convenience for a lot of participants. But no, I haven't. During the pandemic, we offered a lot of volunteer opportunities that people could do from their own home. But our demographic, and people did take advantage of that. But once things opened up again, our volunteers were happy to go back to work. And I think it comes back to that socialization piece.
Socialization, right? Yeah.
It's good to
Yep.
get out of the house. It's
Yep.
good to see people face to face. And so, no, we don't find that technology has changed things significantly.
Yeah. So what about um, services for people with disabilities and finding job matches for people who might have a mobility impairment or some kind of special needs?
Yes. So part of our memorandum of agreement with our site partners is a document, it's called an accessibility checklist. So it just asks agencies to report on what they're, you know, basically what kind of accommodations they're able to offer. Are there, ramps and elevators for, multiple levels?
Hmm.
Is information available in in written form as well as spoken form, things like that. So we get an idea of where our site partners are in regard to that upfront and, who can make um, accommodations and who cannot. Very common thing with food pantries is an ability to, a common requirement is an ability to lift, I don't know, 25 pounds, 50 pounds or more. So we like to know that right up front for our volunteers. Um, and um, and we will also, that's a service that we can offer to our volunteers and to our site partner. If somebody really wants to volunteer at a particular site and it looks like there's going to be some kind of a challenge there in terms of accommodation, we can work with the site and the volunteer. And the sites are very motivated. They want volunteers, they need volunteers. And if they can accommodate, for instance, somebody could be a greeter, at a hospital, and be expected to stand in the lobby and to bring people where they need to go. Well, an accommodation could be as simple as saying, there's going to be a chair there, because the person doesn't have to stand the whole time.
Hmm.
Uh, so we'll work with people on that.
Okay. So could you share one of your favorite success stories about a person that you were able to match where it was kind of an unexpected kind of match with a volunteer and a volunteer opportunity?
Sure. So my favorite story, I had a volunteer who I placed actually in a hospital, another hospital story. She was a volunteer in an emergency room, and she was available to, bring people where they needed to go, sit with people as they needed that, bring juice or, whatever, explain procedures to them. And I didn't realize this part of her story until afterwards. So it was a surprise to me when I was talking to her afterwards, after, she'd been going for 3 months or so and loving, loving, loving what she was doing. And she told me this story about how when she was growing up, all she wanted to do was be a nurse. And her parents told her that they could not afford to send her to nursing school, that
Mhm.
they would send her to teachers college, which, I don't know, you might remember back in the days when it was like $200 a year to, attend a teachers college. So she did that. She went to teachers college. She had a whole lifetime career as a teacher, which was, very satisfactory to her. But she always had this like little itch to be a nurse. So she said that volunteering in the emergency room was a dream come true for her. That she loved that setting. She loved that way of interacting with people. that way of helping. And that was, to me, that was just a beautiful story because that is really what it's about. You
Yeah.
can try things that you didn't have the opportunity before, and it's wonderful when it works out like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a great story. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So I'm kind of feeling, you've talked a couple of times about how you are a federally funded program.
Mhm.
And as we're recording here, there are some changes going on with
Yeah.
federal in the federal government.
Mm.
Um, how are you feeling about the future of the RSVP program right now?
Well, that's a good question. Um, it's hard to know, isn't it? Just in on a not just it's not just about RSVP. It's hard to know how all of this is going to develop. Um, I will say that you know, RSVP has been funded by the federal government for more than 50 years. So it's been, I think it's a popular program. Um, it's, and in the scheme of, the federal budget, it does not cost a lot of money. Um, and it's also, you know, I think we do a good job. We have to report on our grant every year and reapply for funds. And so it's well documented. We survey our volunteers. We survey the people that our volunteers serve every year, and so we can say with confidence that these our volunteers make a significant difference in the lives of our communities, and we can we can document that. Having said that, I don't know. We haven't, to my knowledge, nobody has mentioned RSVP or AmeriCorps as a target, for to lose funding. So I don't know. I think to be in this kind of job that I'm doing, you have to be an optimist. So I'm just saying I'm not going to look for trouble, and um, I'm going to just continue to do my job and um, hope that I can keep on. So
Yeah, so let's kind of come out of the dark side there and maybe go to the light side a little bit.
yeah,
Do you see any future initiatives or expansions in RSVP down the road?
I would say that right now we are not definitely not in expansion mode. We're still trying to rebuild after COVID, after the pandemic.
Hmm.
So I think prior to 2020, we had in the neighborhood of 75 formal site partners and over 600 volunteers. Um, of course, during the pandemic, um, those numbers went way down, and we are rebuilding. So right now we have 50 some formal site partners and more than 400 um, volunteers. So as I said, we're still rebuilding, and
Yeah,
the situation at the federal government level is still uncertain. So I think I would say no, we're not planning any new initiatives.
yeah, yeah,
Although, for some reason, our Healthy Bones and Balance program is just, uh, maybe it's, as you said, that demographic of 75 plus um, might be driving the expansion of our Healthy Bones and Balance program. But we get phone calls. This past year, had we have almost more than we can handle. We are training new leaders all the time and starting up new programs. So
wow,
we're just trying to keep up with that.
yeah, yeah. No, that's great. That's great. Um, well, I'm just trying to think of Well, yeah, I guess that may be getting close to my last session here. My last question, rather, was since 50 plus job seekers is a statewide program, and you're, what did you say, Hamden, Hampshire, and
And
Franklin
Franklin
counties?
County,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to, and Ginger was kind enough to send over this information that there are other programs in the state. If you're in the Boston area, if you live in Suffolk County or Norfolk County, um, those the RSVP program, it's run by different organizations throughout the state. Sometimes it's actually run by a city, or it's run by a county,
Mm,
or it's run by a private organization. So in the case of the Boston area, this is how you can get to seeing about the program and the AmeriCorps program in general in the Boston area. For Norfolk County, that's more of areas like Norwell and that type of thing. Um, they have a website that you can go to in central Massachusetts. The RSVP program is run by a private nonprofit organization known as sevenhills.org. And so I'm gonna put all of this information here uh, in the chat. But certainly, if you wanted to take a picture of this slide so that you would be able to get to all of the different organizations here, you can do that. And in the Berkshires, it seems like it's the RSVP program runs through the city of Pittsfield.
mm,
So yeah, so it's kind of all over the place, but letting people know that that it really is a national organization.
mhm,
And like you say, you've been around for 50 years.
mhm.
So 50 years has got to count for something.
Yes. And Eric, while we're on the subject of who sponsors these RSVP programs, that's
Yeah,
one of the requirements from the federal government is every RSVP program has to have a local sponsor, which I think is just really smart.
yeah.
Uh, so that is why you see these different agencies, and it's a competitive grant program. People submit their grant. RSVP of the Pioneer Valleys. Local sponsor is Community Action Pioneer Valley. Every RSVP has a different sponsor. And these are actually, this list that I came up with are the largest RSVPs in the state, but there are more if you do a little digging. Some of them are quite small. For example, there's an RSVP, I think there's an RSVP program that is sponsored by the city of Springfield that only runs one program. It is a very popular program. It's called the Classroom Grandparents program, where volunteers are embedded within a elementary school classroom for the whole year, and
Oh,
volunteers get a small stipend for that opportunity. And that didn't even show up on my Google search. I just happened to know about it because I'm in Springfield.
mhm.
Uh, but so if you do a little bit of if you're interested in a particular area, it's worth making, um, some additional phone calls or searches to find something that you want.
Yeah, okay, very good. And this is another good one for you.
Yes,
This
good.
is Ginger's contact information here if you need to get a hold of her. Um, so her email is gelliott, two L's, two T's, at
Thank you.
communityaction.us, and her phone number being 413-387-1296. And her office is in, well, her office is in her dining room, and it's also at 1 Prince Street in Northampton. So she didn't want us to, she wanted to make sure that nobody saw the top of her dining room table. And and that's how I feel about the top of my desk too. It's kind of like that. So, but I don't know. Was there anything? Did you have any concluding remarks or anything else that you wanted to talk about, Ginger?
Um, no, I think we've covered it, Eric. Thank you.
Yeah.
And please, if anybody is interested in RSVP of the Pioneer Valley or any RSVP, give me a call or send me an email. I'd be glad to help you make a connection. And again, um, I love my job. I really am a strong believer in the benefits of volunteering, especially for older adults. And oh, I know what I wanted to say that I've been going on and on about volunteering. I know this is 50 plus job seekers, and I did not even make that connection. But if you haven't made that connection for yourself, volunteering can be an excellent pathway to paid employment. Actually, many of our volunteers are interested in, well, most of our people who are volunteering are interested in a supplemental income. So I find that we're looking more for, part-time opportunities. Uh, but yes, it's a good, that is advice that kids coming out of high school get. If you want to get started, you want to build a resume, and the same is true for us now. If there's something that you want to do, a great way to get started is to try it as a volunteer. You can kind of prove yourself. You can just, get a feel for it, decide if it's something you really do want to do. You make contacts, and yes, that's one more excellent reason why uh, a person should try volunteering.
Yeah, and my 2 cents on that one would be that that's how I got this job.
That's
I mean,
right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I was a volunteer someplace. There was a job opening for this job. Somebody who I got to know through my volunteer job recommended me for this, and so that's why I'm here. So it definitely works. And so if you are a job seeker, this is Ginger's absolutely right. This is something that you can put on your resume that you were a volunteer for whatever organization that you had an interest in, because it's like a job. You show up, you do all those things that mature workers do. We show up on time.
Mhm.
We do what we're asked. We enjoy what we do, and as a mature worker, you want to be in a position where you want to be somewhere that's going to bring you joy. Maybe
Yes.
all those years of what you were doing for a job was not bringing you joy. Well, now it's your turn, and volunteering can be a path to that.
Absolutely.
So, well, Ginger, I thank you so much for being here today. Can you believe that it's almost that we almost went an hour on this?
I know it really flew by, didn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah, it did. It flew by. So I very much appreciate you coming on with us today to talk about how great it can be to be a volunteer. So yeah, so
Eric,
yes.
thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.